Hello Internet, God is Truth, and I'm Nigel Winters bringing you some scientific news from weeks past and future present. Let's do this. So if you remember from the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of exciting news about a possible 9th planet really far out in the solar system. But the problem is we don't really know where it is along its orbit, and so we haven't really seen it. And until we get visual confirmation, all we have are mathematical models. It's highly suggestive that it exists, but we're not entirely sure yet. So a French team from the Paris Observatory, using data gathered from the Cassini spacecraft out around Saturn, and using the mathematical models originally proposed by the American research team proposing the existence of this 9th planet, state that they have eliminated at least 50% of the search area needed to figure out where the 9th planet is. This is highly significant because, well, the orbit is highly elliptical, and on average the planet is about 600 to 700 astronomical units away from the sun. An astronomical unit is the average distance between the Earth and the sun, so it's really far out there, so its orbital path is extremely large. Eliminating it by 50% eliminates a huge swaths of the sky that we have to look out for. The French team also say that if the Cassini program could be extended out until 2020, they think that they could reduce the search area even more. This is really exciting time because we need a replacement for Pluto. I mean, 8 planets is nice and all, but 9 planets is a nice number. So in case we don't have enough to worry about with global warming, it turns out sea levels are rising at their fastest rate in the last 2,000 years. An international team dug at 24 different sites around the world to chart the rise and fall of the sea level. They found that on average in the last 2,000 years, the seas didn't rise more than 3 inches and didn't fall less than 3 inches. However, in the 20th century, the sea levels rose 5.5% above their 2800 statistical year average. 2 independent papers published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences argue that sea levels will continue to rise about 11 inches to 58 inches in the next 100 years. This is really significant because this means a lot of coastal cities are probably just going to get straight out flooded, and entire nations are possibly going to disappear, especially small island nations in the Pacific. Already we're seeing evidence of this. So, yay! Global warming! Woo! Fusion, it seems, has been promised to us forever, but we're not that close to it yet. Oh sure, we know how to create a self-sustaining nuclear fusion reaction. It's called a hydrogen bomb, but we don't know how to capture it and maintain it. Well, it turns out when you heat things really hot, they behave very strangely. That's a problem plaguing scientists and engineers for the last century basically now, because the gases aren't behaving as their models tell the scientists they should be behaving. Turns out it's a problem with turbulence. See, there are 2 different flows of turbulence basically going on in the fusion reaction, except they're on vastly different orders of magnitude. One is 100 times more powerful than the other. Naturally, scientists concluded that the weaker turbulence would probably just fade out in the equations, and because it was so dominated by the more powerful turbulence. A team at MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center have decided to try and take this turbulence into account in very sophisticated, complicated models. What they found is that the 2 turbulences are actually greatly intertwined, the weaker turbulence affecting the flow of the larger turbulence and vice versa. Now that they have a more accurate model of what's going on inside of a fusion reaction, they're hopeful that they can start to eliminate turbulence and eliminate other problems plaguing the scientists, so we can finally get a cheap source of fuel and energy, and life will be much better. Hopefully, who knows? Energy is always a good thing, cheap electricity. I'm always looking out forward to cheap electricity that doesn't involve the burning of things. Hope this has all been interesting to you. Tell me which of these stories is most interesting to you. Leave a note in the comments below. I look forward to reading them, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will be answering them. As always, Ajay Kwarajas.